They say some houses were never meant to be lived in. Not because of ghosts, not because of curses, but because something inside them never really left. This is the story of Eleanor Greaves and the woman who lived inside her walls.
Eleanor had inherited the Greaves estate after her aunt's mysterious death. A sprawling Victorian manor, isolated, creaking, untouched since 1872. It sat atop a hill, surrounded by woods that always seemed too still, too silent. Even birds avoided it. Eleanor's husband, Charles, was a doctor, pragmatic, cold, always away on house calls. He didn't believe in superstition. He didn't believe in Eleanor either. The house was mostly unfurnished, furniture covered in white sheets, the air thick with dust. But one room was different. It was the only room Eleanor's aunt had lived in until her death. The bedroom. The only fully furnished room. The walls were covered in faded yellow wallpaper, floral patterns, curling at the edges. At first glance, it looked like age. But the longer Eleanor stared, the more the patterns shifted. Not physically, perceptually. They moved when she blinked. The first night, Eleanor dreamed of scratching, faint, rhythmic. Like fingernails on wood. She awoke with her hands clenched, nails digging into her palms. She dismissed it. Until it happened again. And again. She pressed her ear to the wall and heard whispering. Not voices. Just breath. Breathing that wasn't hers. She began to have waking visions, catching movement out of the corner of her eye, only to find the wallpaper perfectly still.
Charles, there's something in the wall. It's watching me.
It's old paper and your imagination. You're overwrought, Eleanor. Rest.
He prescribed laudanum. She stopped taking it after 3 nights. It dulled her, made the house feel closer. On the 4th night, Eleanor tried to tear the wallpaper down. She clawed at it. Ripped away great strips of yellow. Underneath, she expected wood. But she found plaster, smooth and cold. The next morning, Charles asked why the wallpaper was pristine again. She insisted she had torn it down. He laughed. But she didn't. She didn't laugh again after that. Each night, she ripped it down. Each morning, it returned. She began talking to it. At first, quiet questions. Then longer conversations. She believed the woman inside the wall was trapped, maybe a memory. Maybe a soul. Or maybe something else. She stopped sleeping altogether. One night, the wallpaper moved. And the woman stepped out. She was tall. Pale. Her skin was the color of old parchment. Her eyes were hollow, and her mouth was sewn shut, thin black thread pulled tight across dried lips. She didn't move. Just stared. Eleanor screamed. Charles came running. But when he entered the room, nothing was there. Eleanor stood in the corner, mumbling, scratching at the wall like an animal. He had her sedated. She awoke in the basement. Locked in. Just a mattress and a wall. Covered in wallpaper. Eleanor wrote in a torn Bible she found on the floor. She scrawled a final message across the pages. The next day, the room was empty. The door was still locked. Only her dress remained, folded neatly on the bed. And the wallpaper was completely intact. Except now, the pattern had changed. Her face was there. Half smiling. Eyes wide. Trapped. Waiting. Charles abandoned the house. Never spoke of her again. But years later, when a new family moved in, the room was still there. Still locked. When they forced it open, they found it fully furnished, untouched since the 1890s. The wallpaper was aged, but intact. And if you stared long enough, you could see her. A woman with sorrowful eyes, whispering from behind a floral veil. So if you ever move into an old house, if there's a room that's too well preserved, if the wallpaper seems to move when you blink, don't look too long, and never sleep in that room, because she's still in there, and she's looking for a way out.